Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live. Sorry I missed last week. I was actually sick. I caught a weird virus that actually lost my voice last week. So um, getting it back, still a little raspy, but yeah, it was weird. So I actually took a couple days off last week and just recovered. Um, it's been a good week though. Back at it again. Um, Working out, getting into our spring training cycle. And what we decided to do after last week's Groundhog week, we called it, because basically what we decided to do is do um, an assessment week. We called it Tactical Groundhog Week. And what that meant was, depending on everybody in the group's scores on the assessment, we were either going to make winter lift cycle a little longer or go into spring. So just fun way to say assessment week. So we assessed our winter lifts as well as our PSTs, and spent the whole week doing different events. So like the first day was the PST. After the PST, we just focused on the weakness. If it was running, you did more quarters. If it was calisthenics, you did a PT pyramid. If it was a swim, you did a 50-50. So that's how we kind of extended the workout week instead of just doing a test. So turn the test into a workout depending on your weaknesses. Next day, we did deadlifts and sprints and things like that. So it was just spread throughout the week doing different tests. And we discovered that most everybody was solid on the lift cycle. We had a few guys that were new to lifting. This was their first time really lifting. So what we're doing with those guys is we're still moving everybody into the spring cycle of calisthenics and cardio, but every day is going to have, or a couple days a week, is going to have a supplemental lift for those guys who need it. However, we are going through the spring cycle with a 3-to-1 block periodization model, which simply means we're doing 3 weeks of calisthenics and cardio, followed by 1 week of strength phase with a running deload. So that's really what this new program's all about. Spring training, getting to and through selection. It's increase endurance, maintain strength. It's a way to do it. There's 2 ways I have done it in the past, is to maintain all the gains that we had over the winter lift cycle into the spring and summer by adding some supplemental lifts to the workouts. Each day, depending on what day that was. If it was an upper body calisthenics day, that's when we added the upper body lift later on, vice versa for leg days too. So anyway, that was what we did. That was our week last week, our week this week. We're going into our first week of calisthenics and cardio, getting into the spring. 3 weeks of calisthenics and cardio, 1 week of strength training. So that's what this model is. 16-week program, take us through pretty much most of the summer, and build up our running every week progressively with a slight deload every 4th week. And what that did last year for all of our group when we first tested it out was it gave everybody kind of a recovery week from all the running. We still probably cut the running by 50% that week, so we were still running, but it also helped prevent some injuries. Because if you do a perfect linear progression with running as a group, that can make some people have injuries, some people not. So you have to kind of play around with the individuals in the group. So with that, that's what we've done. If you have any questions about that, check out the description of this video. By the way, this is on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram Live right now. So I'm taking questions from all groups. happy to take some. We'll also do a couple of quick CSS videos, critiques. I've actually on Instagram, I posted one of them already this morning, what we're going to do. So you guys watching on Instagram, you won't be able to see my critique live unless you move over to the YouTube channel or the Facebook channel. So let's take some questions. So we have here, hey Stu, the bulking posts are spot on. Oh yeah, so I forgot to tell you about that. This has been a fun 25 days. So I got the idea of, counting down 25 days until spring. And each one has been a series of just kind of popular, stupid memes that I've just kind of made it towards a bulking season model. Some of them were better than others, but it's been fun. It's been a fun little poking fun at people who lift. And I've been in that group. So one I posted today was Arnold Schwarzenegger running. And I said, that's what it feels like after a winter lift cycle with no running, whenever it's spring and you start running again. But I've been there. I've done winter lift cycles with very little running, and it sucks when you come back into the spring. But the question is, how far do you advocate someone to do a bulk before they cut back? Everybody's different. It depends. For some people who don't really need it, I'd probably even skip it. For instance, like we have a football player that was a power lifter. I mean, he just crushed all the winter lift numbers and, weeks ago. And, it's like, you're strong enough. We're going to start working on where your weaknesses are right now and start progressing you into running more, into swimming more, into doing more calisthenics, and working on some non-impact cardio because his legs aren't quite ready for a ramp up with running. So we're treating him kind of like a triathlete. 2/3 of his cardio is going to be non-impact cardio. So everybody's a little bit different. For most people, we do like a 12-week cycle of, I think this winter we did a 16-week cycle. It's called, in fact, it's the winter version of this. It's 3 weeks of lifting with 1 week of calisthenics and cardio. Helped everybody kind of maintain their calisthenics and cardio. So when we tested the PST, even though we've been in a winter lift cycle, everybody was still in the auto qual, well above passing scores on the PST. But yeah, it's going to depend on you. If you need to gain weight, then I would suggest making that be an issue and stick a little longer into it. So it, once again, kind of depends. I want suggestions on mobility, stretching for the lower body, especially the hip and knee, sir. Okay. My suggestion is to go to my mobility day walkthrough. You see what I do for the whole hour of the my mobility day, where I'll spend 5 minutes of cardio, non-impact, followed by 5 minutes of stretching or foam rolling. I just do some static stretches. I'll do some dynamic stretches. There's so many suggestions. I have a stretching PDF that you can do. My suggestion would be to go to YouTube, search dynamic stretches and static stretches like you would do before a athletic event, and start incorporating some of those. I actually use more yoga-based hip and knee stretches, or hip and leg stretches. So I would maybe look into some of that as well. So, all right. You here on Instagram, you guys got any questions? Everybody saying hi, giving me the thumbs up. That's nice. For PT pyramids, do you always go up and back down? Good question. Because I use a warm-up model the very top of my workouts, like for instance, I guarantee you I did a lot in this one like this, because the very top of my workouts are often a half pyramid. So some people would call them a ladder. I call them half pyramids, 1 to 10. Like this right here. I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't. Like over here. Kind of blurry. Kind of blurry in there. But anyway, it's a pull-up, push-up pyramid with 100-meter runs in between from 1 to 10. Stop at 10 and 10. So you're going to do one pull-up, one push-up, run 100 yards. And by the way, that's a 100-yard jog. It's not a sprint. You don't start a workout with a sprint. And you run back to the pull-up bar. So we do this outside pull-up bar. 2 pull-ups, 2 push-ups, run 100 yards. So 50 yards down, 50 yards back. 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, all the way up to 10. And that is a warm-up. If that's not a warm-up for you, one day it will be. If it's not a warm-up for you, if you only get to 5, then stop at 5 and continue on with the rest of the workout. So I'll use a half pyramid for a warm-up. I'll use a full pyramid for a workout. So what that means, the neat thing about the pyramid is it has a warm-up built into it. You know, you go up until you can't do anymore, max at 10 or 12 or whatever. And then you come back down and it has this nice little cool down built into it. So for me, it is a perfect workout. It's got a warm up, max out, cool down, all built into it. Highly recommend adding those, especially if you're trying to get some high volume calisthenics under your belt. Spread out over multiple sets, because a 1-10-1 pyramid will get you, if you do it right, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 whatever, it'd be squats or sit-ups if you want, or some other ab of choice. You can throw dips in there and make those the same as your push-ups, so 200 dips even. You throw a run every set. After every set of that, you do a quarter mile. Next thing you know, you've turned that into a hell of a workout with some good amount of volume. Takes 19 sets. So yeah, if you had a quarter mile for 19 sets, that's 4.75 miles. That's a butt kicker, you know. That's a great full body workout if you throw squats into it like a Murph. Yeah. Good question. So would Hell Week cause long-term negative health effects? Oof. Good question. I don't know. Some have said, now I don't know where they came up with this. Probably some doctor made a theory. Says it takes 5 years off your life, which I don't know how they can determine that. But so anyway, that's I don't know if it does or not, to be honest with you. Joe asks a little bit indignantly, bulking up for what? You're not supposed to have big muscles in the military or law enforcement. No, you're not. But if you're a hard gainer and your weaknesses are strength and power, guess what? You need to put on some mass, right? If you're trying to go to buds and you are 5'10" and 145 pounds, guess what? You need to bulk up. Probably need to get up to about 180. So come on, dude. There's no one size fits all for everybody. Everybody comes into this game with different strengths and weaknesses. Like I did not need to bulk up. I've never had to bulk up except when I was 16 years old trying to make a high school football team. I had to bulk up. When I was in college, I no longer needed to bulk up. I need to do just the opposite, turn myself into a cardio and high repetition PT animal. And that required no lifting. So I think your capacity for thoroughly understanding the process is could use some improvement. Let's see. Hey, Stu, if I go see a recruiter already physically prepared for buds and able to crush the PST, about how long is the timeline to get a buds contract, then go to boot camp, then go to pre-buds and buds? Great question. If you're already there and you crack, let's say you crush the PST on your first one, I have seen guys leave in as little as a month and a half, 2 months. So it just depends on what the Navy needs, to be honest with you, at that point. If you're solid, medical's good, physical's solid, you're ready to go. I've seen people leave usually 2 months, maybe 3 if it's you got to wait for a date to ship, because that happens as well. After that, your boot camp's 10 weeks. You go straight to buds, and then you're in a 6 to 8 week kind of buds orientation, buds prep, and then you start buds. So that's how it works. So what's that? 10 plus, let's say, a week to transition, maybe 20 weeks before you ship to when you're at buds, starting buds 1, week 1. And that's, ballpark. It's going to change depending on somebody asked about super soldier serum. I have no idea what that is. Sorry. 3 more weeks to wrap up the winter lift cycle. That's a good timing, especially, if you're somewhere in the hard gainer phase of training, just want to put on some mass and strength, then, extending that winter lift cycle into the spring, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's all kind of individually based anyway. Let's see. Let me do a Instagram down here. I don't see many questions. There's one. Okay. Hey, Stu, struggle in underwater swimming. Where do you start improvement? Tips for breathing prep. You know what? To be honest with you, it's more of a technique prep. If you can get a solid technique of underwater swimming and you're not just stroking to get across the pool constantly, you should be able to get across a 25-yard pool with a kickoff in 3 to 4 strokes if you're doing it efficiently. So that means big double arm pull, hold that glide, big kick and recover, be really streamlined during the glide, and just keep on moving through. So on my YouTube channel, I do have some underwater swim videos over there. In fact, if you go on YouTube, you'll see hundreds of them. Some of them are good. Some of them are just guys muscling through a 50 meter, which, hey, if you get through a 50 meter and you can pass it, that's really all that matters. But if you want to do it easily and not be exhausted with the potential of passing out at the end, do it as efficiently as possible. And I promise you, it's no harder than walking 50 meters holding your breath. I'm serious. Especially if you just big glides, and you're going to glide, for most of the swim, right? So it's just maybe a total of 8 or 9 arm pulls and kicks, and you've got a 50-yard underwater easily. Put it this way: it's not something you really need to practice that much, other than just the practice of maybe a 25 efficiently, because first of all, hardly anybody fails that test at buds. I remember when we took it, it was like the first week of buds. We'd already lost like 30 people in the class. It was like day 4 of first week or something. We did the 50 meter, and we had 100 people in the class at the time. And I was like, okay, let's see what kind of percentage we have here of people who fail this thing. We literally had 0 people fail that test. So we were 100% on we went in with 100, had 100 on the back end. So I thought that was interesting that 0% failed. And sure enough, while I was there's classes that go through, and you might have seen like one guy fail in like 5 or 6 classes. I don't know if that's still the same thing as it was back then, but it's not one of those things many people fail. So don't waste a lot of energy trying to do that, and never do it alone, because unfortunately, you Google spec ops candidate dying of underwater swim practice, it happens every year. I've seen guys unfortunately pass out underwater, not me seen them, but read about them dying every year for the last 20 or so years. There's somebody that dies on a breath hold. So never do it alone. Take it very seriously. I wouldn't sweat it too much. Focus on efficiency, not so much breath hold practice. Good question. Let's see. How can I mix in weights with your 12 weeks to buds program, or should I not worry about lifting at all? Well, consider the Complete Guide to Navy SEAL Fitness book a calisthenics and cardio cycle. So you're going to go through a 12-week cycle focusing on calisthenics and cardio, crushing that. However, if your calisthenics and cardios are already above average and you want to maintain some strength, you can throw in a supplemental lift a couple days a week, maybe do a leg day on days that there's legs, maybe do an upper body lift on days that you're doing pull-ups and push-ups, but don't do too much. It's a high volume workout, as you'll find out. And what will tend to happen if you do too much lifting with a high rep calisthenics, high volume cardio workout is you will get good at neither. So you won't get faster on your timed runs or your timed swims or high reps, and you won't get stronger with any lifts. So if you're trying to lift, just do it as a maintenance plan and don't expect to go crazy 1 rep max stuff. Just, keep it at 5 to 10 reps. Just work on technique, perfect form, those type of things that can be done during a calisthenics cardio cycle. Kind of like what we're doing now in the spring training program. You can either do it one of two ways. You can add some supplemental lifts a couple times a week when appropriate, or you can do like 3 weeks of the 12 weeks to buds program and a week lift cycle to kind of give you a break from the high reps and the running progression. That's another way to do it. So it's up to you, but be smart about it. Let's see. Do you think there'll be a higher demand for enlisted SEALs given the current state of the world? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. If we start deploying overseas and into Europe, it's very possible that there may be a need for more people. As of right now, SEAL teams are 107%, last I heard, overmanned. That may have changed in the last few months, but they don't need people. So the buds faucet that feeds the teams is really down to a trickle. It really is. That's why you see 90% attrition rates right now, because it's just one of those things, needs of the Navy. Hey, real quick, let's try a combat swimmer stroke critique. See what I got here. I'll pull this up and we will discuss this. Now, those of you on Instagram, I do not, obviously you can't see this, but if you want, you can go to my YouTube page and see me walk people through this. Just going to share my screen real quick. Here we go. So you guys should be able to see this. All right, so let's, first of all, we've got a good streamline. Look at those biceps on his ears, one hand over top of the other. Going to get a good glide. Got a nice little dolphin kick out of it. Good double arm pull. And we got a top arm, bottom arm, kick. This is one of those slow as fast motions. Look at that. He's just so relaxed, even relaxed in getting his arms up over his head. I tend to go a little bit faster after the kick to get myself into this glide position, but he's just nice and methodical with it. And this is really good. I think this is like a 48-second 50, if I'm doing the math right. Yeah, there's not a whole lot he needs to work on. However, here's the deal. He's swimming a 48-second easy. So that looks really good. I'll do it, show it one more time while I talk. He's doing a nice, easy, smooth 48-second 50, but he's swimming like a 9:30 right now, which isn't bad. I mean, 9:30 is fine. It's passing, kind of gets you in the zone. But my own personal minimum standard is an 8:20. That's a yard per second. So 500 yards, 500 seconds. And it just sets you in a good pace to be able to be above average. And the deconditioning of boot camp will, if you do lose a minute on your swim, it'll put you back at the 9:30 zone where you need to be anyway. So you want to go into boot camp with above average scores, well below the minimum standard. And when I say minimum, well below the passing standard or whatever optimal level is, well above if you're doing calisthenics, but well below if you're doing timed events. Just so when you do have that deconditioning, you got to take that PST for real to stay in the program. That's when it counts. So that was a good one. That was a good, smooth 50. And all he needs to do now is just get in shape to do that 9 more times. So what's the workout I'd recommend him do? I'd recommend him do the 50-50, and that's what he did. So he's been working on that. So here's a good question. In your experience, do hockey players tend to perform well at buds? Yes. In fact, I did a podcast with Jeff Nichols on hockey players going to buds. I think I grouped them in with like rowers as well. Not sure why we put hockey players in with rowers, but we just talked about those different groups. Hockey players, you can't hurt their legs. Your legs are going to be solid. You'll be able to crush log PT, especially on the lunges. Hockey players are tough, so that's helpful. The only thing is impact injuries occur with hockey players, just like swimmers. I think we might have grouped them in with swimming because they tend to get the same shin splints that a swimming athlete gets because they're not used to the impact of gravity. Even though they're used to gravity, they're not impacting their legs with running like normal running athletes do. So you may have to spend some time building up your running. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through a series of shin splints and knee tendonitis and things like that because overuse injuries occur quickly with hockey players and swimmers. So that's the only thing I've seen. As long as they can swim and run without pain, hockey players are solid, definitely. Let's see. Here's a good question Mike has. In fact, I have a video to kind of show what he has here. So my legs keep sinking while swimming. I have to kick nonstop to stay afloat, and that's burning me out quickly. Yes, I bet it does. Any tips on balancing my body while swimming freestyle? Okay, so swimming freestyle. Yeah. For me, my body has always acted like a seesaw. Anybody's does. So when your head pops up to breathe, your feet drop. If your feet are dropping while you're swimming and your head's not popping up to breathe, then there's just a problem. Might have to work on your core a little bit to might need to work on your kick because maybe your kick isn't actually producing the lift that it needs because your flutter kicks need to be you need to be kicking water with the top of your feet, almost like in a pointed ballerina kicking position. So you're actually providing lift. If your feet are not bent and your ankle looks like that, your feet are you're kicking water with your toes versus the top of your foot. That could definitely just suck you right under. So it might be an ankle mobility issue that's causing it, or you're popping your head up, or you just have a weird body position that could be controlled with a little more core stability. In fact, let me show you this video here. I'm going to share this one again, or a different video here. I think this is him. Yeah. So this guy here, and I just posted, by the way, I just posted this one up on Instagram. So those guys on Instagram can go check out my latest Instagram post on this swim. And I call it swimming like a banana, because he is literally swimming like this. So his hips are down, his head's up, and his feet are trying to get up, but instead of swimming at a diagonal, he's kind of swimming like a banana. So it just looks kind of awkward. So here is the swim like a banana. So if you notice, tends to pop up a little bit to breathe. It's not too bad though. He's not popping his head out of the water, which is a lot worse. If your ears are coming out of the water, your bottom ears coming out of the water, it will definitely cause this. So what's causing this right here is really a failure of good arm pulls. Like his arm pull is not doing a freestyle catch. He's just like pulling his elbow instead of like pushing water with all of this, pulling water and pushing. So you got to look up freestyle catch and learn how to pull and push with your arm versus just moving your arm through the water thinking it's going to do something. Because right now, if you look at the surface area of his pull, it's really just his elbow, right? So he's swimming like this versus trying to grab water with his hand, and he almost has his hand cold or closed too. But this is the part I was talking about. Look at his banana shape when he swims. You can kind of see it on the side here. Like he's trying to pop up to breathe, and it looks like he's doing a farmer carry with his right side. His whole top side is just bent up like that. So he's actually has a decent kick, but he's bent at the hips and he's not pulling very well. That bottom arm is just way too big. It looks more like should look more like a breaststroke skull versus a full arm pull that over rotates you. So he's got some problems mainly with his arm pulls on that. So my answer for you with the leg sinking is make sure you're pulling properly with your arms. So that if you can pull harder with your arms, I don't mean harder, but more water with your arms using what's called the freestyle catch. Look that up. Your leg should actually just pop up and you don't need to kick at all. You can just do a kick every now and then, like a rotational kick or something, just to help you turn to breathe. But work on your arm pulls, because that will probably help you the most. Do this. Count when you swim a 25-yard swim freestyle. See how many arm pulls it takes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See how many arm pulls it takes. If it takes you over 20, in fact, this guy's, I timed it today. Didn't time it. I counted it today, and he did 24 strokes to get across a 25-yard pull. Way too much work. He should be down in the 15, 16 range if he had an efficient arm pull, or AKA the freestyle catch. So if you put that in quotation marks up on YouTube, freestyle catch, you will see how to swim, one, the top arm pull of the CSS, and a better freestyle from people much better than I am at swimming and coaching swimming, especially freestyle swimming. Good question though. All right. Random hydration question. How do I avoid getting cottonmouth when running the 1.5 miles during the pass test? I sip on carb powder electrolyte drink before, during, and it still happens. I would probably just drink some water, after you do your carb electrolytes, which I highly recommend, by the way. You do need a little carb boost when you're about to do that. Make sure you're just hydrated in general. Like the day before, you take these tests or day before you work out, you should be hydrating a lot. Depending on your weight, you should be getting anywhere between 100 to gallon, 100 ounces to a gallon of water a day. That will probably help you with your lack of water in your mouth. Other than that, after every drink of powder, I would drink some water. Or if you don't feel like you need to drink that water because you're just getting more full, you don't want to be too full when you do these tests, especially right before the run. It just sloshes around. Just put water in your mouth and spit it out and just kind of wet your whistle a little bit. Good question, though. Good question. All right. This is always a great question, and I've answered this 100 times. Would you recommend trying to go to buds right after high school or wait a year or two? Here's the problem, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time answering this because I've written about it countless times. I want you to read an article called Perfect Storm for Failure. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll just put that in the Perfect Storm for Failure. I don't even have to write the whole thing out. I've given this out so many times. So I'm going to put it in the comment section here, and you should read that. Perfect Storm for Failure for a teenager. Here's the biggest thing. I'm proven wrong every class. There's always a teenager that graduates buds. Numbers aren't high, but if you look at the numbers before buds on day one, class average is probably 18, 19 years old. But then when they graduate, class average is probably 22. So most teenagers do not make it when after Hell Week. It's just one of those things. Not sure why. Maturity issue. Some of them are still growing at 18 years old. I will say this. Those teenagers that do make it through buds are exceptional humans. Let me give you an example. One of my guys in my buds class, he was 18 years old, was our honor man in our buds class. 18-year-old kid, awesome kid. He wound up 2 years later going to the Naval Academy. So he was a fleet transition into the Naval Academy. So he started the Naval Academy with a trident on his chest, like all the other 18, 19-year-old kids that go through the Naval Academy. But he's had 3 years of experience. Was 21 years old when he was a freshman. Trident on his chest. And he went to the Naval Academy and crushed the Naval Academy. I think he had 2 majors, 3.5 grade point average, played a sport, and was in a band. He's a complete Renaissance man. So those are the type of people that are exceptional. When I say they're exceptional human beings that make it through buds as a teenager, they really are special. They're finished growing. So if you're still in puberty or not through puberty or not still super small, trying to grow, chances are you're not going to make it. Be finished growing, be an early grower, I guess. My suggestion would be go when you're 20 years old. And I know I said I was going to give you a short answer to that, but sorry, that one gets me fired up all the time because I can't tell you how many 18-year-olds tell me they're going to buds and they'll never quit. And they're going right after high school. And I said, look, man, don't be in a hurry because, you got from 17 until 29 to go to buds. That's not a small window. And then I get people saying, hey, I'm 22 years old. Am I too old to go to buds? I'm like, come on, man. Read some sealswick.com information. Figure that out. You got a big window there. Let's see. Here's a good question. How long should that 19-set pyramid with 400-meter goal pace runs at every odd set take? So that's you're only looking at 10 quarter miles. So you're looking at 2.5 miles of running, roughly. First day of the new spring, get to and through. I would say it's probably going to take you an hour and a half to finish that. I think that is what it took us when we recently did that one. So how should I go about prepping for the current running numbers at Buds? 55 to 60 miles per week, allegedly. I don't recommend doing 50 to 60 miles a week personally. The only run that really counts at Buds is your weekly 4-mile timed run, and that needs to be a 7-minute mile pace. Most people get kicked out for not failing that or for not passing that each week. And that's you have anywhere between 7 and 8-minute miles. So you can run a 7:30 and still pass. I'd like to recommend people to get to 7-minute pace easy so you can run a 28 4-mile run without a lot of effort, right? If that's a gut check, you're not there yet, right? That's fine to run a 28-minute 4-mile, but if you're dying at the end of it, you don't want to be there. You want to be able to run basically a 27, but you pull back a little bit and hit a 28. That's where you want to be, and not be dying at the end, because you have so much more to worry about, at the end of the day. I got my running to about 35 miles a week before I went. And that was enough. I was decent. I wasn't the fastest runner for sure, but I will promise you this. I never wish I'd lifted more weights before Buds. But like I said, I was coming in at a strength and power history, so I didn't really need to. If you're an endurance guy, you're probably going to crush the runs and don't need to worry about it too much. I would focus more on strength and endurance, or strength and power, to get you through those first 4 weeks. Because after Hell Week, you'll never touch a log, you'll never touch a boat, and at least over your head and running with it. And it turns more into, you're running, you're swimming, you're doing calisthenics, you're doing O courses, and throw a ruck in there every week, and you got yourself, that's what you're training for, right? The first 4 weeks are tough. You're going to really need to rely on some strength and durability for those first 4 weeks. After that, it turns into basically triathlon training with a PT and a ruck on. So let's see what we got here. Thanks for the peanut butter tip. Oh, yeah. Helped me break that wall down. I'm close to losing 5 pounds just under 2 weeks. Nice. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, I love peanut butter. I can eat peanut butter every single meal. But, if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to find ways to, reduce your daily caloric intake, that peanut butter is a lot of calories. Like a spoonful can be a couple hundred calories. I remember when I wrote everything down that I was eating on this little food diary, and there's nothing fancy. I just buy one of these little books, and these little notebooks that you buy, at school, right? Just write down everything I eat, and then do the math on the calories. And I was like, oh, there's another 600 calories a day of peanut butter I'm eating, that just by taking 2 or 3 scoops in a day, 500 to 600 calories. So as soon as I quit doing that, back to losing weight again. So there you go. Yeah, no problem. Glad that's working for you. Let's see. How different are the jobs of SEALs and Rangers in GOTW? You mean Global War on Terror? GOTW. I'm not sure what that acronym is. I'm missing something. Not quite right. Is it the same? The jobs are completely different from each other. But yeah, they're still doing the same things that they would do. Rangers just do it with a larger group. SEALs do it with a smaller group, and just different missions. There are some missions that you would want Rangers to do, and there's some missions you would want a smaller group like SEALs to do. So yeah, direct action missions for sure. Let's see. I have Arabic copy of my 1999 AD. Very cool. Thank you. I learned a lot from you. I have no idea. I didn't know if any of my stuff was in Arabic. Not that I'm dismissing that or anything, but interesting. Huh. Let's see. If I send you a video of my swim technique, I would love to hear your feedback. Absolutely. Send it. I critique people all the time. In fact, if you have not seen my critique CSS critique page, you got to check out my TikTok. Believe it or not, I have a TikTok, and it is the same address as my Instagram, StuSmith50. And I probably have 100 videos on there now of just nothing but me coaching swimming. In fact, I'll show you. It's worth following. I mean, if you don't have TikTok, I get it, but it's worth checking out. Let me just share this with you. Just show you the type of stuff I have on there. So as you can see here, it's just nothing but me coaching swimming. So this was a perfect CSS the other day. A lot of these I post on my Instagram too, but not all of them, because I'd just be blowing up my Instagram with a bunch of swim videos, which is nothing wrong with that. Just, I don't want to post too many times a day on it. But anyway, this is, I think I'm over 100 now. Can't remember if I counted them or they popped up as a total number of videos. Somewhere I thought there was. But anyway, yeah, there's some good stuff on there. Check those out, because it's kind of one-stop shop. Before TikTok, before Facebook, I had a YouTube channel, and that's all that was on my YouTube channel was swim videos. So 10 years ago, maybe, you'll find some older version swim videos on there. Still good ones. But now with the better cameras from these new phones, and this easy way of putting them up online compared to the way it was with video camera and download the video onto a computer and upload it, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's the way we did it when YouTube came out. And there's some older swim videos on there that you might be able to pick up some stuff from. So, but definitely check out the TikTok. Let's see if I got any more questions over here on Instagram. So, do you have any tips or programs for 5 miles under 40? Yes, I do. In fact, the article is called so running plan to help you get to and through selection training. It's only 20 miles a week, but it is 20 fast miles a week. And if you wanted to add a longer run at the end of the week, you could add a 8 or 10 miler or something if that's what you need to do to get up to 30. But this is 20 miles with a purpose. 20 miles a week with a purpose. So your runs are either going to be a 6-minute mile for like 2-mile timed runs or 1.5-mile timed runs, or if you're Marine Corps, shooting for 3-mile timed runs in 18 minutes, or for longer runs like your 4-mile and your 5-mile timed runs, you pull back on the reins and learn how to do that at 7-minute pace. Then you can get yourself a 28 minute 4-mile or a 35-minute 5-mile. Still a little raspy. But that's how I would do that. Check out that little workout, because it's 5 or 6 workouts in a week of running. That's just a supplemental add to your normal training, not normal running. That's all the running you need to do, and just focus on learning that pace, doing some sprints, building up your aerobic base with either impact or non-impact cardio, running. So yeah, there you go. Let's see, a couple more questions. Would you say Army SOF selection is just as challenging as BUD/S, but different? You know what I would say? SOF selection, right? That's like 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks long. I would compare that to the first 3 to 4 weeks of buds. Because if you take a look at what buds is, the first 4 weeks, you will lose 90% of your people who don't make it through buds leave in those first 4 weeks. So it is basically a selection in those first 4 weeks. After Hell Week, you have your base class, and now you're going to actually learn some training. You're going to learn to dive. You're going to learn to shoot. You're going to learn to navigate. You're going to learn to do missions, stuff like that. You're going to learn explosives. So buds is basically a 6-month program with the first 4 weeks being a selection. SOF Selection and the Q course is set up kind of similarly, but there's a split. So you'll go through selection and you'll say, okay, you can start the Q course. So it's a little bit different, but very similar as far as the attrition rate always happens in the first 4 weeks. So you can obviously get kicked out during the Q course. You can get kicked out after Hell Week. You can fail things after Hell Week and you're out of the class, obviously. Yeah, if you're looking at military.com, yeah, I think now you have to sign up to read the articles. Not sure why they did that. But it's just once you sign into it, I mean, you can see all the articles in there. But I think you just have to be a member to see it. Doesn't cost anything just to be a member. Not sure why they did that, but they did. Let's see. When you say 28-minute 4 mile, do you mean 28-minute exactly or sub 29? I would recommend learning 28-minute exactly. So you're closer to the 28-minute mark than you are the 29-minute mark, because third phase time's going to want you under 30 minutes. And, you know, for most people, they don't necessarily get faster at buds. They kind of just maintain or kind of get a little slower. So you want to be under that minimum standard a minute or two at least. So it's just smart to be well under the minimum standard, because you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a day where you did log PT and you lunged for about a mile with a log on your chest, and the next day you have a 4 mile timed run. Guess what? Legs are tired, legs are sore, and you got to run a 4 mile timed run. You're not going to be at your best. So you have to understand that, you know, I'm not going to be able to run a 28-minute mile or a 4 mile. I may have to slow it down to a 30, but you're still 2 minutes under the first phase time. So that's all it is. It's just building gravy into the system, right? If you're going in there with barely passing minimum standards, you're going to hate life at buds. I promise you. Let's see. Did the PT pyramid week 2 of intermediate, failed at set 10. Should I drop to a beginner or keep going on to the intermediate? Yeah, keep going on with the intermediate phase. Just do what you can. Eventually, as long as you keep practicing those reps, you're going to get better and not fail at set 10. Set 10 failure is good. Most people are failing at set 7. And I would still say keep going. Keep going forward. You're going to be able to, you might have to adjust some things. And just remember, you know, none of these books are personalized training programs. So you have to personalize them for you and your abilities, your facilities, your equipment. All of those things need to be accounted for, because you may not be able to do all the exercises because you either don't have time, you don't have the ability, you don't have the equipment. So you have to personalize it and figure it out. If you have questions with that, that's kind of what I'm here for. So happy to help you personalize a little bit. So in some Navy SEAL books, if there are workouts that have both running and swimming in the same day, yes, you can mix them up. You know, one thing I used to do is I would run from my track to my pool. It was a couple miles away, but it just added to the running volume. But if you can't do that, yeah, you can do it in separate sessions if you need to. Do it later. Once again, that's one thing that, like I just said, you're going to have to personalize it to make it fit. If you need to break up a workout into 2 sessions, so be it. Just try to get it done if you can. Would you recommend incorporating running hills? Yes, hills are great, especially if you don't have sand. Hills have been a lifesaver for my guys. We do hills every Tuesday, and we do a beach run every Friday during our running cycle. Highly recommend it. If so, would it be a distance or a sprint format? We do both. So what we do, we'll jog to the hill, which takes 2 miles just to get to our hill. Our hill is a 1/4 mile high. So round trip up and down is added 1/2 mile every time you do them. We'll sprint up, jog down, or even walk down. Sprint up, jog down, do that 4 or 5 times. That adds another 2.5 miles to your workout. And then on the way back, we hit all the intervals. Sometimes we'll mix in some leg PT on the way back. So we'll turn the trip back into either goal pace or sprint pace intervals of 200 to 400 meters. Sometimes we'll do goal pace at 800 meters on the way back, mix in some squats and lunges as well. So it just depends. Depends on what you feel like you need to work on. Some people need to work on their speed. Some people need to work on just muscle memorying that pace where they need to be. It's kind of up to you. I like doing both. So some weeks we'll do pace drills. Some weeks we'll do sprint format. Good question. Random question. Have you ever had any encounters with the French Foreign Legion? I have not. I have worked with the French, just not the French Foreign Legion. Would you recommend them to someone who can't join their own country's military? Yeah, give it a try. They're pretty hardcore. Make sure you're rucking, though. Rucking in sand. They will do a lot of rucking in sand. So I don't have any programs for that, but I would suggest maybe the Army Ranger SF program, and then find a beach and ruck on it, because you will be rucking in the desert. All right, couple more questions and I got to bail. Or we can show a really good combat swimmer stroke. But I did post it on Instagram yesterday. So if you go to my Instagram, you'll see this combat swimmer stroke over on Instagram. So I'll forego showing another one on YouTube. You guys just go to Instagram and see the last 2 CSS videos I have. We'll take one over here on Instagram if anybody's listening. Let's see. Morning, Stu. Glad to see you're doing better. Oh, thanks. Haven't been able to find if you have just a mobility program for sale. I do not. I have a book called Tactical Mobility that I wrote with some yoga and mindfulness experts. But my personal mobility session is not in there. It's just a whole bunch of stretches and movements and some breathing techniques they like to do. But my mobility session is pretty basic. It's literally if a spin class and a yoga class got married and had a baby. So instead of an hour on a bike or an hour in a yoga class, you do 5 minutes of cardio on a bike or elliptical or rower. You do 5 minutes of stretching. And I tend to do more yoga-based stretching during that 5-minute cycle. I go through that for a solid hour. So get 5 or 6 rounds of that, and boom, I am feeling pretty good. So it's challenging. It's really hard. It's that stretching is not easy when you push it. And then after that, I usually go for a swim, do some drown proofing drills with the guys, treading water. All that is also very helpful for hip mobility as well. So in fact, that's probably how I saved my hips, was by treading water. No hand, tread water, do breaststroke kick, scissor kick, egg beater kick, just mix it up, all types of movements. Next thing you know, your hips are getting a little more loose, and you start to see some better run times even. I thought I was going to have to quit running because my hips hurt so bad. And then I started treading before every swim. So I do a 5 or 10-minute tread as my warm up or cool down before or after every swim workout. And it completely changed. Add that to a mobility day and it's even better. Let's see. Last question. We'll go with Caleb. What do you think about doing ×3 on the push-up portions when doing the pyramid workouts? Absolutely. Do it. If 200 is too easy, do ×3. We do that all the time. So sometimes we'll even do ×2 on the pull-ups, which that gets really hard. So often what we'll do is we'll do ×2 on the way up and then do ×1 on the way down for pull-ups. And that gets you like 150 reps of pull-ups versus 100. So yeah, great idea. I think it's good. I've even done ×5 on the push-ups. That sucks. Doing a set of 50 for set 10 is pretty tough. All right. So last question. What do you think of 30 to 40-minute CrossFit workouts for lifting than calisthenics after? Absolutely. That's fine. I don't have a problem with CrossFit. I think CrossFit's great. I just don't do it. I think other fitness programs are great too that I don't personally do. So I don't have any beef against CrossFit. I think they've done a lot more for the fitness industry than they have harm. Good for the fitness industry than they have harm. I will say this though, is where people screw up with CrossFit is that's all they do. And they think they're going to be buds ready. So I actually wrote an article about CrossFit for special ops. It's on military.com. And I said, if you're going to do CrossFit, make it your warm up. So, there's no 30-minute gym workout that's going to prepare you for a day of spec ops training. So that means you need to add swimming, you need to add running, you need to add rucking. Depending on the day, you might need to add some calisthenics. I mean, if you're doing a Murph at a CrossFit gym, that's enough calisthenics for the day, but you still need to add your running, rucking, swimming, depending on your issue with your strengths and weaknesses. A lot of mobility too. Sometimes some CrossFitters lack mobility and they can't do this. They're like this when they glide, right? Because their shoulder mobility's all jacked up. I've seen that a lot. So work on mobility as well. All right, folks. So I think that is going to be it. If you guys have any questions, send them my way. If I did not answer your question, I'm terribly sorry. There's a lot coming at me here with these two systems. So thank you over there at Instagram. Check out stewsmithfitness.com. If you're still around and you want to save some money next time you go shopping at Stu Smith Fitness, Compete 20 saves you 20% on books and programs over there. So thanks again for listening. Send your videos in to me. Happy to critique them for you. So with that, I'm out of here. You guys have a good one.